Hello! So, it is time to get into the Illuminator spread, and I decided to go ahead and use the Mystical Dreams Tarot to make this a little bit more collective, I guess. I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of Lux Ex Tenebris, Lux Ex Umbra. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, feeling it, feeling it. So that's what I'm going to do. And I just converted the file. I changed the ink so now I can actually read it. Get these off to the side. Let's see what this brings. I'm not going to take these because I'm going to pull, but I am going to read them. So the Two of Cups, the Ten of Wands, and the Lady of Swords all came out. Let's do it this way so you can see. I feel like the Two of Cups and the Ten of Wands, this is a simultaneous navigation of self and others. In the Two of Cups, we see, yes, that there is the pair on the horse, and then there's a single solitary figure in the back on a horse as well. And I feel like we're both of those. And with this Ten of Wands, it's this energy of sort of like feeling that we don't have much of a leg to stand on or much room to sort of honor both ourselves and others, maybe. But with the comet in the sky, or whatever this is, it reminds me of like heralding a time of change. And as we learn to better navigate that, we also get a greater understanding of everything, almost of the universe. Because now we're coming into a position where we can hold love for self and love for others in a way that is more honoring of everyone involved. And it gets us closer to, understanding that which is universal and that flows through everything. Right? And what does it mean to honor and to love? How do we treat those that we honor and that we love? So I'll do three more. One more. Oh, goodness. It's that Five of Cups. Bottom of the deck is the Dream Angel. There's an energy here of interceding or intervention when all of our knowledge and all of our wisdom can't take us any further. When we've sort of hit the limits of all of that, this is spirit coming in to unblock what has remained. But I'm seeing that as like an egg that lies within our own Holy Grail. And it reminds me of the Leviathan Ten of Cups. This is the arousal, the awakening of something deep within self. Something that the world has been waiting for, our spirit has been waiting for us to reach the attainment of. And it reminds me when we recorded the last podcast episode, I think it was in it or it was after. Risha told me that if you break a caterpillar, if you break a butterfly out of its cocoon, it's not going to have the strength to fly. It's like the act of breaking out of the cocoon itself gives it the strength to fly. And then I saw someone else somewhere else the next day, it was that again. It was like you can't break the butterfly out of the cocoon before it's ready. Like it needs its own power to break out of the cocoon. You are the butterfly. And so maybe there was a period of challenge and difficulty that we've gone through, but that's because everything can't like be done for us. And we have that strength. It's important that we develop a strength within self to do something. Okay. One more. Oops. I'll take it. You'll be number 1. The Dream Protector. Here's that Emperor energy again. I'm actually going to sit him off to the side. I'm going to sit him off to this side so he can look over all of this. I am going to sit him here. I'm going to turn it all in reverse so you can see. So first card is the Six of Cups. And then, oops, 1 second. Oh, come on. Come on. Then we have the Wise Fox. Hold up, wait. I need to make sure I'm laying this out in the right way. I think this comes up here. Wise Fox, and then it is the Five of Swords. Ooh, girl. She needs more room. I need more space. It's fine. I'll do my best. And then it's the Ace of Cups. So we see that Ace of Cups again. And then it's the Nine of Swords. And then it's the Three of Swords. And then we have the Dreamer of Cups. And the Dream Carrier, Empress. So we have Emperor and Empress, which is interesting. Bottom of the deck is the Hierophant. So we have the Emperor, the Empress, and that which is the magical connection, that which affirms their marriage, question mark. How do I want to say that? I don't know. Things are a little tight, but that's fine. So let's get into this. So our handle in this situation when it comes to Lux Ex Tenebris, it is the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is an interesting energy. It feels like there's something that we have yet to attain or achieve or embody. And with the Six of Cups, maybe it could even be like on a soul level. We're sort of trying to go back to a time when everything was right. Maybe we're trying to dig through our own Akashic records back to a point in period where everything was like Gucci, everything was great. There were no worries or concerns. Like that was an excellent life, and we're trying to get back to that rather than moving forward. The Six of Cups in this deck in particular shows the mirror. But it's a mirror in a forest. It feels like there has been a period, there has been a journey, and somewhere along the way we find this mirror. I wonder if we recognize who we see. I'm going to read these in the book because I just got this deck and I love it. I miss things sometimes. The seeker now looks into the mirror to view herself. She questions the seeker in the mirror. Oh my gosh, that's the energy of the keeper and the SKT. Well, the keeper is the one in front, inside the mirror. The seeker now looks into the mirror to view herself. She questions her path, her direction, her general understanding of life, and the environment around her. She sees herself as she truly is, not as she may wish to be. accepting both her faults and her attributes. At best, she arrives at the realization of self-love, acceptance of her incarnational role, her communion with the divine. Only by acknowledging and accepting her true self can she accept the love of her true mate. This can indicate meeting the perfect partner, a mirror image matching her soul's desires. Alternatively, it can indicate a difficult time when identity seems elusive. We sometimes see only blurred images of truth, viewing them both in the waking reality and the interior. The mirror challenges us. It is a time of spiritual contemplation. It can be the best or it can be the best of the worst of times. Appearances can be sorted through time spent in reflection, in solitude, and in silence. What can be made of the information just out of focus? It is the side glances that shall bring illumination. We need to seek the answers in the shadows beyond the center and see beyond the bright light of waking reality. We are served by seeing the dangers of overindulging in self-love. What? We are served by seeing the dangers of overindulging in self-love and ego inflation. We must see the reality of who we are, accepting our strengths as long with our weaknesses. So maybe we're in a period of accepting. I guess if we haven't been parts of ourselves for a long time, then it would require reflection to remember those parts of ourselves, right? Let's say that there was an interest, a hobby, or a way of being that you sacrificed because either the hobby was a waste of time, the interest wasn't lucrative, or we didn't find acceptance in some of those ways of being. And so now we try to come into a discovery of self, but to truly know the self, it's like we're going to have to reclaim those parts of us that we've abandoned, sacrificed, given up, right? So that's where we are now in this period of reflection. And honestly, things can kind of sort of go either way. And then down here, we have a Five of Swords energy with a Wise Fox energy. And this is interesting. It's almost as if the light is intentionally disguising itself for us to see something about the darkness. It's like it's distorting itself, or it's allowing itself to appear in a certain way that may not be completely accurate to what it is and who it is. I don't know why who, but that's so that we can see something about the dark. And it's almost like if the light were present, then we would cling to the light and shun the dark, and we would never work through the things that we need to work through at this point in time. This is like focusing on our strengths and focusing on the things that make us beautiful and gorgeous. This is that overindulging in self-love to the point where we don't see or accept or embrace all of the other parts of who we are. And it's that part, it's the darkness that we're sort of struggling with this Five of Swords energy. And so the light is trying to do something clever to assist us with that. So, Wise Fox dances with death. Hold up. I'm going to have to change my glasses. I don't have enough light to read at this magnification. There we go. Wise Fox dances with death. A chubby angelic figure rests upon his whiskers, the intuitive senses of Fox. Clever Fox knows the truth about death, bringing the message that life does not end, that death is a mere portal into the realm of eternal life. The angel of truth rises from Fox, from his intuitive knowing, pulling the whiskers of perception, attempting to get one's attention away from what appears as deep loss. Only by redirecting sight away from the sorrows of the moment, tragedies of physical death and loss, can we see beyond the illusion of death as an end to death, to the truth of death as a new beginning. The dance with death is one of joyful companionship, for death is merely the commencement of the eternal life that follows the physical incarnation. The dance, anchored upon Fox's sensory organ, connects the seeker to the truth of the frightening, sorrowful experience of loss. Fox, with his wisdom, presents a powerful ally, opening each to understanding beyond the darkness of death. If there is sorrow, we shall be visited by one who represents Fox, bringing communication of hope. We must remember that the angelic figure rests upon the whiskers of the fox, indicating the channels of communication between the worlds of dream and waking, of the living and the deceased. Consciousness is non-local, neither encased within one physical form, nor enslaved to one physical reality. Consciousness transcends time and space, and communication remains for those who seek the truth. Remaining open, we can transcend apparent loss and gain new understanding of the nature of life. Fox is a clever being, a creature of transformation, of magic and of trickery. Fox knows well the trickery of the human eye, which sees only that which is before it. While the physical world presents death as a true and solid end, it is the work of trickery, for, in truth, death is an opening to a new phase, and what is beyond the physical is real. Clever Fox sees through this falsehood and beyond to the portal of death, which is a doorway to the afterlife. The dance between life and death continues on, while the conversation among the foolish continues without end. Fox sees and holds the truth within himself. He is mindful that many choose to escape his company, seeing only danger and downfall. Many fail to understand, missing both Fox's wisdom and his angelic nature, the communicator that brings messages from the depths. They do not see beyond the corruption and disillusion of what appears as an end. Perception is the enemy, not death. There are stories about Fox, about those who try to outfox, outsmart him. Few win. Fox outmaneuvers the evil and voracious, symbolizing victory of intelligence over malevolence and brute strength. I'll read that again because I read that weird. Fox outmaneuvers the evil and voracious, symbolizing victory of intelligence over malevolence and brute strength. Through the wisdom of Fox and the communication of the inner voice, the angel, one can move beyond grief and loss. And it's like this is the deeper perspective that has been tried to sort of... It's the deeper perspective that either we see or we don't see. And with this mirror card, there's this energy of like things that are with the mirror in the Six of Cups. It's an energy of things that sort of need to be seen, but it's also an energy of like things that are hard to see or unsee. And it's like there are some lights that are so faint that you can only see them in the darkness. It's only in the dark do you see that something has a light or something is light, because when the sun is out, it's like the sun is so much brighter that you don't even notice. And it feels like there's a light within self, and there's a strength and a power within self that we don't notice, that we don't embrace when everything is smooth and when everything is given to us and when we're not challenged. If we're not challenged, there's a certain amount of strength that we never sort of tap into because we never really had need for it. And the world needs, or is coming to a space of needing, like strong, empowered directors or innovators or pioneers or trailblazers or revolutionaries who will challenge all that has been, that will get us closer to what will be. And then on the dark side, I guess I'll read it because I'm reading everything. It's the Five of Swords. It's like there's so much confusion that we can't even see. And again, it's almost like it's important for things to get a little darker, because if they didn't, like, we wouldn't notice the light or this new light. And it's like now we have to rely on internal light, or we have to rely on a different power, right? We have to be light in our lives, and we have to fuel that light. And it's the anchoring of lights that brings forth more light globally. The fisher youths stand on the shore between land and water. There's so much in between energy. And it came out in the daily thing today too. Like everything is in between this world and the next world. Death has also been featured. Earlier today, the necromancer came out, which is something potentially returning from the land of the dead to the land of the living, something that has been in between realms, locked in limbo, something that has been absent for a long time, something that has eluded our awareness for a long time because of where we were, and now it's coming back sort of to the surface. So much in between today. The fisher youths stand on the shore between land and water, the space between arrival and departure. They have left behind the safety of their family and home. They are on their own, with little support other than their own insight on how to survive past the recent loss. There's loss again. They were hatched to protect them from the raging sun and the many decisions that threaten to scorch their crowns. The sudden change in their lives is shocking, traumatic, and unbalancing. Decisions must be made before moving ahead. Yet alone in a frightening foreign world, not of their liking, they feel weak. One casts a line to the depths, seeking the unconscious waters and the wisdom within. The other carries the pail of bait while pointing ahead to something that is beyond near vision. A decision looms ahead, yet it is not clearly in view. They need to move beyond their tragedy, which demands they grow in wisdom overnight. It is not an easy task and not a reasonable demand. They feel unfairly treated by fate, deserted by all. It is humiliating to be left without resources, physical and emotional. They carry only the small pail of worms, which is of little help with the huge task of making a new life. The right lines need to be cast to catch the right thoughts, the right information. One must put out all the lines and ask for guidance of trusted allies. This, and I don't know why this is coming up now. And again, it was maybe a few weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. It was this energy of like, I don't know what's about to happen, but it's so important that we don't forget everything that we've learned over the past approximately, 14 months? It's so important that we don't forget everything that we've learned and discovered in the past year since everything fell apart. And when I did the Initiate Seeker Keeper 1, ISK 1, both the Initiate and the Seeker came out with that double thunder, like cataclysmic, it's like sharp turn. There's this cataclysmic thing happening. And in the space of the cataclysm, like you're gonna feel weak, you're gonna feel lost, but it's important that you don't. And I'm assuming that more isn't gonna happen, girl, but I don't know. I'm hoping that more isn't gonna happen. But it feels like it's referring back to like last year. And more so like how we've navigated the space between then and now. Whether we've gone inside and found all that we need to, whether we've grown in the ways that we've needed to, whether we've taken up the light and the responsibility in ways that, will move us forward, whether we've integrated our shadow, healed it, whether we've come into the ability to appreciate darkness for what it is and know the difference between dark and shadow. And again, like these two, it reminds me of Job and how in the Bible, Job was blessed by God. Job was very faithful and a very loyal servant to God. And the devil was like, the devil made a proposition that he could get Job to curse God. And God allowed the devil to do what it was that he did. And so the devil took everything from Job, even his family. And he never cursed God. So by the end of the ordeal, he got returned to him so much more than he lost. And it's like it's that space of like sometimes we're allowed to go through challenge and we're allowed to experience diversity. Is that adversity, not diversity, girl? I mean, we are allowed to experience diversity, right? We get the lighter times, we get the darker times, and we get the times in between. It's not a uniform experience, which is almost the beauty of the experience. Now, with the Six of Cups, when we look on the past, a lot of times we can put either a nostalgic filter on it where we focus more on the good in the past, or we put a traumatic filter on it where we focus more on the negative in the past to the point where we don't remember the other. And having such a uniform view of the past make it can make navigating forward more difficult than looking at the past in its entirety, the good and the bad, right? Because that's how we learn. We learn from both. But we are allowed to experience adversity because of what it has the opportunity to give us. And like no one was prepared for what happened. And if however you navigated that space, now you know something. And now you can choose to do something different or to do the same thing, right? It's almost like in some ways it's less about how you navigated it and how you dealt with it in the moment and more about how you move forward. So sitting between them is the Ace of Cups, right? And the Ace of Cups is gorgeous. Like this is a rebirth between the light and the dark, girl. This is like um because like everything exists between light and dark, the known and the unknown, between the known and the unknown, between this realm and those beyond. Like, what more is there? I mean, I guess there's like the supreme beyond, right? That beyond, which is beyond the original separation of light and dark, right? The all. But from these two perspectives, we can get a pretty hefty grasp, question mark, on a lot of things. So the Ace of Cups, enfolded in the wings of the great crane, communicator and protector of eternal connections, the lovers rest cushioned by the waters of the unconscious, which allow the communication to flow into and between them, to unite them in love. One's vision of contentment and peace is matched by reality. Beyond eternal love, this card is about the ultimate potential of human romantic love on the way to the more mystical divine love. The crane is a holy or mythical creature, symbolizing good fortune and longevity. Mythology places it as a protector, one who guards all during sleep. It is said to keep watch over the sleeping flock, holding a stone in its claw in order to stay awake. Thus does the crane enfold and protect the dreamers that the messages of dream arrive safely into consciousness. Flowers fill the space, roses representing the heart and love. The heavenly star shines on them, for their love is unending. True love knows no boundaries. A relationship, the joining of the pair of opposites, is made in heaven, two souls united beyond time and space. This represents a relationship that does not end with physical death. If we have lost a partner, this is an indication that there is no real loss, but temporary separation. If no partner exists, one shall show up or is already on the doorstep. And I love this, especially between these two, because it feels like somewhere along the chain, closer, I guess it feels like it's descending. Because again, it's like when you get far enough, it's always there. Or it's there in its purity and its untaintedness. But that union of light and dark is getting closer to this space. Or are we getting closer to that space? Does it matter? Is it the same? Is it different? I don't know. But there was something in this wise fox that also hinted at the understanding of what lies beyond. This was the one that struggled, so the dark struggled with what lied beyond. the light was in a position of understanding it, but also understanding our struggle with it, or understanding the dark's struggle with it. But now we have this almost like union energy between them. And again, like when light and dark unite, it's like all things can be born. So what we see of the light is the Nine of Swords. What we see of the dark is the Three of Swords. This is the hurt and pain that rise from the darkness. This is the confusion and the anxiety that probably arose from the light. Like, if God is really out there, if spirit is out there, then like, how can this be allowed to happen, girl? Like, the world is crazy. Spirit, like, where you at? Like, have you seen the world for the past year, girl? Like, what is happening? Like, I thought on this ascension journey things were gonna get more beautiful, but they got like real dark and real ugly. Like, what? So with the Nine of Swords, it's like, in some ways, whatever we have internally is presenting us from seeing the fullness of this. Over here, I mean, this energy pretty much lines up. The Three of Swords and the Five of Swords. Right? Like, this is what we expect from the dark. Technically, this is what we expect from shadow, and we project that expectation onto the dark. This is the confusion at the light not being more present in whatever way we assume that it's always present, but the light is doing something very clever right now. Something that we can't necessarily fully comprehend or understand. The seeker needs to use her mental abilities to find her way around in the frightening place. You need to find your mental abilities to find your way around in the frightening place. This is the understanding that those frightening places aren't as frightening. This is getting us to that understanding. But we wouldn't necessarily, like, it may be a little harsher than we were used to, but again, it's important that we come into a space of strength moving forward. For whatever reason, it's important. Like, again, the Emperor and the Empress are both here with the Hierophant. Ace of Cups down here in the space between light and dark. Like, this is a unification of polarity on a lot of levels. It's a unification of polarity, but it's not necessarily the dissolution of it, necessarily. So the seeker needs to use her mental abilities to find her way around in the frightening place. While it is a place where the seeds of darkness may germinate into flowers of light, at present it appears as a dangerous, disempowering place where the seeker experiences difficulty in finding the path to something familiar and safe. The seeds of possibility remain hidden, and the seeker does not see them. The moon prominently casts its emotional charge upon the seeker, bringing to rise feelings of fear and anxiety. The seeker is stressed and feels isolated, lost and worried, even threatened in this strange environment. Yet the seeker has the ability to read the signs which can lead through and beyond this dark place. Using her intuitive abilities, seeking to find her way, she can move beyond this. What appears to be a dark, dangerous place can open to the beyond. With the help of intuition, the rational is empowered. Seeds sprout in this dark place, providing the help necessary to get the seeker through a transition period. Yet the seeds must be seen. On the other side, in a sea of sorrow, loss, and confusion, the seeker sets out to cut themselves off from humanity, isolating themselves in the wake of their storm. It is a time to reevaluate and regroup. Reason tells them they must disconnect from all that has passed. Withdrawing from the old will give them the opportunity to rest and regenerate. From a place of quiet, they will set out towards rebirth, rising from the fires of transformation. The fires that burn are strengthening and empowering, pain offering an opportunity for growth. The seeker is about to embark upon this transformative journey. They will burn off the old and bring about the birth of the new, the rose, the flower of hope. A new plan will manifest if the seeker cuts the emotional ties that hinder the journey. Thus, fire and passion, deep loss and tragedy, manifest in a fiery glow of isolation, of retreat. Reason, symbolized by the man attempting to cut the chains of sorrows, provides the forward movement towards healing, helping the seeker move from the pit of despair to transformation, towards a newly revealed future. There is a difficult road ahead, with the necessity to retreat and replenish one's resources. Intellectual reflection sheds light upon the path, demonstrating the possibility of victory. Only by separating, breaking away from the chains of the past, can the way be cleared. Reason is needed to conquer the watery irrationality of emotion. Now, some of this I kind of agree with. Some of this I kind of, well, no, I do. But it's like disconnecting from an old humanity, healing and connecting towards a healed humanity, I would say. And then there's a lot of mention of the past here, and the Six of Cups is typically a card of some kind of rumination on the past, be it through the lens of nostalgia or through the lens of trauma, right? But it has also been said that those who don't learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. And so, honestly, I feel like this is the tendency to handle things the way that we've always handled it. Cut it off, purge it, move forward. Like, you don't need it. This is our understanding of the dark. Our understanding of the dark is something that we need to sort of repress, dissociate ourselves with, and then try to move forward. But it robs us, I guess, of the ability to truly be liberated from it because we don't know how to work through it. And it's almost like, regardless of if you cut the chains or not, they're still there. They just may be there in a more subtle way. It's like you convince yourself that they're not there. But it's like what happens is they just sort of retreat further into the darkness. It's like they move from the conscious space, from the space of things that you're aware of, to the space of things that you're unaware of. Because now it's like you feel that you've sufficiently done something to be free of it, but in reality it wasn't really resolved. But now, since you're convinced that it is, it's like now you can't even properly attribute what's happening because it wasn't dealt with. It's like you remove yourself from it and you try to move forward, but you never deal with it. And so it remains unresolved. And it gets more and more and more subtle the more you force your attention away from it. But now, and again, it's like it puts you in a space where you're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why this is happening or why that's happening. Is it this? Is it that? Is it whatever? And it's like, no, it's just something that's been left unresolved and ignored within you. That's why the light has to be clever. Because without these things being acknowledged, addressed, and healed, they will continue to bind us in ways that we're even less conscious of moving forward in the future when things get even brighter. It's like it'll be harder to see them, or it'll be easier to ignore them. It'll be easier to keep ourselves busy and distracted like we did before everything was shut down. So next is the space of something that needs to be addressed, and it's the Dreamer of Cups, which is interesting, girl. She's interesting. She's real interesting. The Dreamer of Cups. The Dreamer of Cups contains moon and sun, light and dark, earth and water, air and fire. Here we go. But this, like, she contains all of it. That's why it's so important that we sort of find this space where they meet with this Ace of Cups here in a way that we weren't able to see because of what we weren't able to face before. And again, like, that's why the light has to be really clever right now, where it's like it's still present, but it's not present in a way where we overly rely on it to the point where we don't step into what it is that we need to do ourselves. The Dreamer of Cups contains moon and sun, light and dark, earth and water, air and fire. She is the great romantic, overflowing with a natural tendency to fall in love with all creation. She contains both the intuitive wisdom of the depths and the rational knowledge of the physical. She has the capacity to remain stable and balanced upon the jed pillar upon which she was birthed, while she reaches out to expand her territory of learning and experiencing. She understands that stability comes at a high price, and thus the act of balance is one that must be carefully reached in order to make decisions. Each attempt to reach higher, stretch further, delve deeper, upsets the balance. Demanding, she resets her parameters. Each movement brings change and the threat of being dislodged from the great jed pillar, which bestows stability and safety. The continual balancing is evident in decision making, as she looks to all directions before committing. As the great romantic, she can be led by her dreams of perfection that may or may not match reality. As a realist, she can allow thoughts to bring her to unproductive detours, missing the great romance due to uncertainty and fear. Action and inertia are at odds with decision making. She holds all within her form, and yet the heavy burden of balance demands clear vision. And this is our challenge right now. Our challenge is, maintaining balance and clear vision in decision making. And then when it comes to the light, we don't even see that fully because of the Nine of Swords. And then when it comes to the dark, we're so hurt that we don't see that either. There's just like, I feel like it kind of sort of goes to show how far out of alignment we truly were with what it is that we've been manifesting. And last but not least is that Empress energy. And this is a blockage or limitation to this challenge. Hold up. Where's she at? Here we go. The Dream Carrier is the challenge. Challenge. Where is she? Here she is. You can't even see her. Oh, yeah, you can. There she is. The Dream Carrier. The Dream Carrier is proud of her role as incubator of dreams, carrier of the potential future child of being. She is weary, as she is well aware of the many challenges awaiting the soon-to-be revealed child of dream. Birth is not an easy process, and she knows dangers lie ahead. With every birth, there is the pain of delivery, as well as the sorrow of loss. No longer protected within her depths, the released dream must be matched against the challenges of the waking world. She is protecting and loving, holding dearly the future. She is a nurturer of the unconscious contents. The dream carrier is seated on a throne with her eyes looking across a stream of water, beyond which a newly birthed dream child stands with his back towards her. She must allow each their own path, and can only hope the wisdom of the womb is carried along with the dream child. Her right hand covers her womb, protecting that which is yet to be born, the dream not quite yet ripe for delivery, while her left hand clenches a pomegranate and a book of incarnations. The pomegranate symbolizes the many seeds yet to rise from the unconscious, while the book represents the knowledge of each, past, present, and future. She records and knows intimately every part of creation. Her throne is upon the swirling waters of time. She births into time, yet is ever grounded beyond it. The dream carrier is filled with the joy of expectation. She is ready to birth new ideas, new plans, relationships, careers. Yet she is mindful that each birth shall merely manifest briefly before it flows into the river of time. There is sorrow in the parting, and thus she is weary, for she knows the joy of birth shall by nature be balanced by the sorrow of death. What manifests in time shall be taken away in time. She is aware that nothing lasts forever. The dream carrier births each in the spirit of compassion and gentleness. The crown of achievement that she wears is heavy with knowledge, and she keeps focused, knowing that all is well in the end. It is the journey after birth, the journey back to the true home of the spirit, that counts. It is a message she would pass to each of her dream children, yet such knowledge still does not protect one against the sorrows of the ephemeral nature of life. The seeker, as the dream carrier, wears the crown of creativity, along with the knowledge of its hefty price, death. Each creative act demands a price, and thus one gives of oneself in order to manifest the creative dream. While the crown of achievement may glitter seductively, its weight is heavy. The dream carrier may represent another, someone who appears to have it all, manifesting success on many levels. Yet this card would suggest that the seeker does not judge by appearances or titles. The cost of success is often hidden beneath the illusion of the scene. The dream carrier can represent a mother, or the fertility, pregnancy, love, attachment, growth surrounding the current situation. It may point to continuous struggle or labor. Fortitude and strength are demonstrated by the dream carrier, and thus her appearance in a reading empowers the seeker to weather tragedy, false accusations, and unhappiness. The dream carrier is a survivor who knows how to let go of illusion and grow with change. So, this is the challenge or the blockage. This is the limitation. The limitation of the conscious, which can make it more difficult to address what the subconscious is trying to bring to our awareness. Honestly, I'm going to leave this one up to interpretation. Everything else I've spoken on. You know what this means. It's a conscious blockage on what we subconsciously must address or embody, right? To be all, to be open to all, and to know that to move is to cause unbalance that must be balanced. To grow, to expand, is to cause unbalance that must be balanced. And the card talked about how weary the dream carrier is, that as she gives birth to something, it will die at some point, that it won't last forever, that when it's outside of her, she can't protect it. When it's out in the world, it's subjected to the world. Outside of this, we see the dream protector and the Hierophant. So, with that, I hope you all have a good whatever whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that you can have the courage and bravery and discernment and determination and insight to see whatever truths are making their way to you to be seen. I also hope that if you are so called, you find the strength and the courage to share that truth. And with that, I will see you whenever I see you next.